One of the cornerstones of law enforcement work is the ability to rely on other officers, regardless of agency, to come to your assistance should you need it. Chicago, Illinois, Saturday, October 4th, 2025, 12:30 p.m. Federal agents are conducting operations within the city with clashes between them and protesters begin to escalate. Soon, a large crowd has gathered around the 30 federal officers, who then called for assistance from Chicago PD. While the story is still being uncovered, it does appear that a stand-down order was given to not assist. This is LifeLine. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of LifeLine 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I'm your co-host, Gary, and today we are going to be discussing about interagency law enforcement assistance.
Good.
Now, just right off the bat, we're going to not be discussing the merits or demerits of the law enforcement actions that may have been happening. So this isn't that kind of show.
No, not at all.
But we do want to talk about the importance of other agencies assisting each other when the fecal matter hits the whirly blades, as they say. It's one of the key components of law enforcement, knowing that whether you're wearing a blue shirt or like a brown shirt like a sheriff might, or whatever color your uniform is.
Or even gray for a state trooper, anything.
Exactly, yeah. That you know that if you're in trouble, the cavalry is going to come to assist, and how critically important that is. So I kind of wanted to play a bit of the audio of what we had from the Chicago PD radio transcripts to kind of let people hear some of the audio that kind of happened. So we'll put that on now.
And again, per the Chief of Patrol, we have all the units that per 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Place in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Place in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
So that was the audio from the Chicago PD. Again, we're not really getting into the where and the why for of the politics behind it, but why is it so important that officers really feel like other officers will be there when they call for assistance?
I mean, of course, I don't wear the uniform, but I would think off the bat, law enforcement is not everyone's favorite, right? And
yes, I would agree.
And it is not an uncommon thing for the people or persons being policed to turn on the ones who are doing the policing. It is not uncommon, and they can find themselves in some life-threatening situations where they will need to call for reinforcements, for lack of a better way to put it. And they should be able to do that. Throughout my entire career, I don't ever recall a time where we did not go, whether it was someone they thought was in a peace officer's uniform or maybe armed security, whether we knew that to be true or not, because there is a difference between them, or security guard. If it looks like an officer and somebody calls in and says an officer is in trouble, we flip a switch, everybody goes.
Right.
That's all I know.
Yeah, and there are very many occasions where we'll go out to a call where somebody says, I see somebody in a uniform, it looks like a cop, they're struggling with somebody, they're fighting with somebody, and just as you said, a switch gets flipped and like cavalry starts heading out there. And
Let's go.
Yeah, sometimes that turns out to be like just a security guard, who a lot of security guards tend to wear law enforcement looking uniforms, so it can
Yeah.
be difficult to tell, especially if it's just a bystander calling that in.
Yeah.
But it's never a hesitation to
Uh-huh.
send assistance. So,
Yeah.
like, um, whether that be like the local, like the police department, the county sheriffs, the state troopers, or federal, even.
Yeah.
Like,
Constable, FBI, ATF, you name it. If it looks like a law enforcement individual, regardless of the agency, flip the switch, let's go.
right. And I think one of the reasons that's so important to do is because not only to keep people safe, obviously, but is that mentality behind police work, that police officers are in this together. They're in the fight together to try and take down the bad guys, to try and keep each other and the people safe. And if they don't feel like they can rely on all of the whole profession together, that weakens the entire matrix of law enforcement.
Yeah, it does. And I think because you and I are in communications, which is, support, we don't have a say. We just do. Do you know what I mean? I'm sitting there, it's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you and anybody else that's in the profession, especially who works radio. You are sitting there and you're minding your own business, and you get the call on your screen and it says, officer fighting someone. You get the adrenaline dump, you sit up straighter in the chair, and you don't think which branch of law enforcement or which brand, what patch, what color the uniform is. Well, I'll take it back. You will, but only for identification. Like, which agency is this? Because if they've got one of theirs, say they went to the jail to drop them off coming from one of the surrounding areas, we want to be able to let that agency know, hey, your guy or your gal over here, they're going through some things and we're on our way to help. We're letting you know. It is never to determine where there's never a line. Oh,
Right.
well, that's so and so. Even though we play badminton with them back and forth with calls all the time over jurisdiction, at this moment, we don't care. We go. And it's not up to us to have a determination. We'll have a dog in the fight when it comes to whether or not to go.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the jurisdiction thing, because a number of episodes ago, we had talked about jurisdiction and this dead guy's foot is on your side of the county line, so you got to go. We're not going. And like they'll throw those kind of calls, but when it's like help, those lines immediately kind of disappear, and it's just like send everything you got as fast as you can. Yeah. And a lot of times when it's not your own agency, so if you are like a dispatcher and you're working a radio and a call comes into your queue saying it's been reported that it looks like there's an officer in need of assistance at this such and such intersection, that can be worse in a lot of ways because you don't have any radio contact with them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what's going on.
You're right.
Whereas if it's one of your own guys, hopefully they'll be on the radio at least and give you some sort of information and you'll recognize their voice, anything. But when it's just a random or a completely different agency, that to me is the really stressful part.
Yes, because you don't know what that situation is, because if you get a phone call through 911 and it's a citizen calling, there's information that is not readily available to you. Like you said, for one, who is it? You don't, and I know as a dispatcher, I have had those calls where I'm like thinking to myself, who is it that I don't know where they are? Yeah. Right? You get to thinking it's like a mother hen with all her chicks going 1, 2, 3, 4. You get to counting and you're looking at rosters and you're trying to figure out, you're doing all the things that you have to do because you're typing about 50 miles a minute trying to, get it done. But at the same time, you're like, crap, is there somebody that I forgot to put out here? did they check out and I forgot to put them? Holy crap. And there's just so much going on. That's in my mind as a dispatcher. That's the first thing. Did I lose one of my chicks?
Yeah.
Sorry if you're a police officer listening, but that's the best I got right now. Did I lose one of my baby ducklings? Where are they? And then once you realize, no, it's not us because of the description of the uniform or the color of the shirt, you go, okay, that's not us. Now, who is it? Because it could be 3 other agencies because they all wear the same color shirts.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you have an officer like fighting or struggling, it's, as you said, an immediate sort of adrenaline dump. But especially when you add on that level of chaos, that uncertainty of, I don't even know who this is or where exactly they're at or what they're doing. And then you've got that feeling of, what did I screw up? Did I miss something? And you've got to check that and spend time to understand that. It's a really, probably not as tough as it is for the officer fighting with the person, but in terms of like a human being just sitting at a chair, unable to really leave their station, and you get a dump of adrenaline like that, that's a very challenging event to work through successfully.
Yeah, it is. And we always talk so much about the dispatchers because, this is where, because now you've got officers going, I'm going, gimme, send me. And all of that's going on. And we don't think too often, or I know I'm guilty of it, you don't think about the call taker who has just picked up the phone. And while we are accustomed to not knowing what's going to be on the other end, that's the one you really don't think about too often.
Yeah.
Either a citizen calling or an officer calling, because I've had officers call 911 going, I need some help out here right now. I'm not in my uniform. I'm in civilian clothes. I've got on a blue shirt, brown pants, blah, 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 blah. And they're spitting it out. And then the line is not guaranteed to stay open so you can ask all your extra questions.
And you've got to capture all that data immediately and put it in quickly. And it's got to all be accurate. It's a very high stress call from everyone's perspective. There's no easy person on that.
Yeah. And even, let's just flip it to us in the role that we do every day, which is supervisor. Now I'm hearing this on the radio. First thing I'm going is, okay, who has it? Who has it? Who is it? Is my call taker? Okay. What radio? And it's just chaos. And we get the adrenaline dump too, because we have to immediately start thinking about 15 different things. And I know we started out talking about what, how important it is for the officers to feel like they can call on any agency, no matter where they are, even if let's say they're on vacation out of town and not so much out of their jurisdiction per se, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But they should be able to pick up the phone, and until we know that it's not that, it is that.
It's always better to send more than needed, because it's better to have it and not need it than to have needed it and not sent it.
Kind of like law enforcement backup insurance.
Exactly.
We all complain about spending the money on the insurance, but boy howdy, when something happens, you're so glad that you kept that coverage. And I think in a sense for us, we have to stay in that mindset. It doesn't matter the color of the uniform. It doesn't matter we're not going to go any further than this, but it doesn't matter our political affiliation. It doesn't matter what is going on politics wise. If you get a phone call, 911 operator, that says this, no matter which 3 letters or 4 is on the back of their shirt, you do your due diligence unless otherwise directed by your leadership, and you treat it as any other help call, because in some jurisdictions they call it officer needs help, or officer needs assistance, or some other phrase. But yeah, you do the things that you do.
And I think that you brought up a really kind of interesting point of discussion there. When you receive an order from your chain of command that says, we're not going to send out on this, and
you see my eye twitching right here?
Yeah.
Out there in podcast land, you probably can't see it, but right now my eye just started twitching at the idea. But okay, carry on, Gary.
Yeah. Like, how how can you respond to that? Because I think most everyone in the profession wants to make sure that not only the officers, but the citizens are kept safe as well. And to not send on that type of call would be extremely difficult, even if you had the chief of police telling you don't do that. I mean, to me, it's like that's the wrong thing to do. So,
Yeah.
where do you go with that? I don't have an answer to that. I'm putting that out
I
there.
don't. Well, I kind of do. And the reason I say I do is you do what you are instructed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because the officers are going to. This is not the time for you to enter into the CAD call. This is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. What idiot decided to make this call? Blah, blah, blah. Your opinion does not go into that very public record.
This is true. This is true.
How you feel about it does not go over the air.
Yes.
You say 10-4, and whatever comes after that, if it's none of the things that I just mentioned.
Well, okay, but to kind of put a counterpoint out there, in most agencies, I think they have rules that if you're given an order that is illegal, dangerous to your health, unlawful, or unethical, you don't need to follow it. And
Okay.
you're generally encouraged not to follow any order that's
Sure.
illegal, because then that's how you end up with what was that
I was
detective?
just following orders.
Yeah, or Denzel Washington in Training Day and his whole group of people. I mean, that I think would be, and this is way off topic, but whatever. I mean, again, from our perspective, there's really not a whole lot we could do, because it's not like we could say, well, go ahead and go out there.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to do. That's why I said you, because this is the only true perspective we can give on it is from a support perspective. We coordinate that response. We don't give the command to respond or not.
Correct.
We give the information, we document, we parrot back what's been said to us so everybody else is clear. We are a communication hub, but we don't have the authority to say do or don't, and we should not be, unless there's a forum provided by your leadership or by your agency, we should not be voicing our opinions about whether we think it's a good idea or not. Now, what you could do is when you do hear that, you do what I used to do and go like, I just want to make sure I'm clear as professionally as possible. Confirm, you said we're not going? And that tone is probably going to say, and it won't be my displeasure or disagreement. It will be bewilderment.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry, you said what now?
I think you heard that tone in the audio clip with, I don't know who the primary speaker on that was, but they're like confirming we're not going out to this such and such location.
Oh yeah, one of them at least was a dispatcher, and you could hear it in her tone. I mean, she kept it professional, but you could, if you know what you're listening to, you heard her go, what? Her tone said, I'm sorry, say that again. Now what happened?
Yeah. So.
But in the end, she did what she was instructed to do. She parroted the information that she had. She said it again for clarity, so that in case anybody was confused, negative, we not going.
Right. And we are a support unit in communications, wherever you work in either 911 or dispatching. We're here to support the field officers in their job to make sure that calls are responded to, so we don't have wiggle room to make or even have an effect on a lot of those decisions out there.
Okay.
And I think that's a really smart and good piece of wisdom to give people, to say, just confirming that you're saying A, B, and C, because it will be looked into. I can guarantee you.
And you want to make sure that as the, communication facilitator, if you will, that we kind of are, especially over the radio. That's why we parrot things back. That's why we will take, the chaos of a call and read it, understand it, digest it, and then put it out in bite-sized pieces where it can be, further digested and then acted upon. That's what we do. So the smartest thing for you to do, dispatcher or radio operator, whatever it's called where you work, is to confirm, I heard XYZ. And when they say absolutely, that is what I said, we not going, stand down, turn around, any of the things that you think, that is where you say 10-4 or affirmative or whatever you say, and repeat it back. And do so as professionally as possible, because you can bet everything that you own. At some point, this conversation will be dissected, and you don't want what you said or didn't say, or how you said it, or how you didn't say what you didn't say, to be all up and through. And it'll be CNN and MSNBC,
all over the internet.
And yeah, you don't need them kind of problems.
Yeah. And you also want to make sure you're clear, because you don't want to be relaying false information or inaccurate information, giving somebody, like if you were given a directive, you don't want to mishear that and give further the directive mishaps, like a game of telephone.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Or maybe radio, handheld radio.
Yeah, where the story changes by the time it gets from where it started to where it ends up, it's a completely different story. It's been added to, subtracted from. It's just
multiplied.
A mess. Yes.
Square root.
You end up carrying one, you name it. It just becomes a mess.
Yeah. And the important thing is that most of the time, law enforcement officers don't even need memorandums of understanding, which are documents between government agencies to say, we'll do X, Y, and Z if you do A, B, and C. Like, that's not even something that needs to be signed or looked at. Like, this is just an intrinsic part of the law enforcement profession. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I don't know of an officer, nor have I talked to one that I'm aware of, that when they hear officer needs assistance, officer needs help, or officer, God forbid, down, or anything remotely close to it, anything in that realm, they don't drop what they're doing and go running. And that's an understood thing, even though we may have some things in our climate that are going on right now that would make you kind of wonder. But as a rule, it doesn't matter the 3 or 4 letters on the back or the front of their vest, jacket, shirt. It doesn't matter if we get the phone call or they say help, we go. And actually, it just made me think about something that has happened to me. I mean, at least a couple of 3 times over the course of my career, in local jurisdiction, where they have at least access to some of our channels. It could be someone that doesn't work for your agency comes up on your air.
Yeah.
What do you do? Because we have, obviously we have our local suburbs, and then we have, by being the capital, we have other agencies that can pop over to, quote unquote, our regional channel, or even one of our city channels, and say, hey, this is agency you've never heard of before in your life on your channel. I'm over here at the corner of Walk and Don't Walk, and all hell is breaking loose. Send help. Baby dispatcher who might be listening and has never experienced something like that, what do you do?
Send help. That's the answer.
You shut the channel down, tell everybody else to shut the hell up, and you send the cavalry. And then you figure out who officer I've never heard of before in my life. If you can please tell me who you work for again, because I have completely forgot, because now my brain is going. But the bottom line, as funny as I may make it sound, seriously, it doesn't matter if you recognize that law enforcement agency, officer, call sign, doesn't matter. You respond as if it's one of your own until you're given, or unless you have a directive to do otherwise.
And I think the reason that is so fundamental to having successful law enforcement is ultimately the officers need to know that if they're in that situation, the help's going to come. That's why they go whenever the help is needed.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
As you said, there's plenty of people gunning for the officers out there, both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to trust the other people that are sworn to defend the citizenry.
Yeah, same. Regardless of how, what level it is or how small, doesn't matter. And we can't lose sight of that. Even in our support role, we can't lose sight of that. We can't ever get to the point where we won't do as much for someone who is not, quote unquote, one of our own as we would for one of our own. We just can never get to that place. And we can't allow outside influences or the news or, political this, that, or the other to get in the way of that. When you sit down and put on your headset, whether you're taking the call in or you're putting the call out, do it the same way each time as if there is no difference and you are going to be safe. Then you're standing a much better chance of protecting your agency overall when the public scrutiny does come, because trust is coming.
Yeah, and ultimately the job that law enforcement does, and fire and EMS as well,
Sure.
is too important to let anything as transient as that kind of intercede.
Agreed.
Keeping people safe, keeping people protected, that can't take a back seat to anything else. And
Agreed.
officers can't do that if they can't trust each other and rely on each other. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my takeaway from it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I will also say that, as I said at the start, the situation in Chicago is in flux. It's not exactly understood what happened. It could be
Sure.
that Chicago PD sent the officers. It could be that they didn't. We don't know. And that's not the point of the conversation. It's
all.
saying how
At all.
important it is to back up your fellows in blue.
Agreed. And we'll all find out together what really went down there. But it's here nor there for the purpose of our conversation. It was just the example that we found that kicked off the conversation. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And if you would like to kick off a conversation with us and you have any experience with any of these things, please feel free to shoot us an email at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. We hope that you found the episode enjoyable, enlightening, and maybe even a little thought-provoking. And if
There
you
you go.
did so, leave us some love with leaving a like or a comment down below. From all of us at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary,
I'm Erica.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.